In the case of Paul Gruninger, this Swiss police captain I just mentioned, who saves hundreds, possibly thousands of refugees before he is caught, allowing them into Switzerland against the law at the risk to his career. No one who knew Gruninger, no one who looks back on this case, sees him as this kind of heroic type. To the contrary, he was an ordinary guy. He didn't stand out. He seemed to be a rule follower and a rule enforcer. I met his daughter, and his daughter repeatedly described him to me as normal. He was normal in terms of his politics. He wasn't outspoken. He wasn't especially religious. So there's this mystery that I begin the book with, and I want to figure it out because these people are not these heroic figures. And furthermore, I think in that sense, the book should be both a challenge and an inspiration to readers, because on the one hand, when we put people up on pedestals, it's sort of we think we're honoring them, but at the same time, we separate them from us. They are these heroes, and we are not. And part of the message of the book is, well, these are flawed people, just like you and me. So maybe we shouldn't separate their example from ourselves so much, and also the standard they set.
The book, in effect, says that these people are idealists who just cannot believe what they're seeing, so to speak, cannot believe their institutions would do this kind of thing, and think that they are acting in the finest traditions of and are saving the institutions on which they're blowing the whistle or to which they're descending and so forth. Bottom line is, in some way that maybe they didn't even realize they are idealists, aren't they?
Absolutely. We tend to think of dissenters or these sort of whistleblowers as rebellious types. The characters I wrote about are not rebellious types. They are, as you say, idealists. So if we return to Gruninger briefly, here's this normal guy. Well, why does he do this? Well, one of the important reasons, one of the key factors, is that Paul Gruninger was a Swiss patriot. He believed very much in this Swiss tradition, this Swiss ideal of letting of his country serving as a safe haven and a refuge for the persecuted, which is very much part of Swiss national identity. Gruninger, as a consequence, when he learns of this law to bar refugees in 1938, he's in a part of Switzerland that borders the German Reich, that borders Austria. He's watching refugees come across the border every day. And he cannot square this with this tradition, this Swiss national value. And so what he assumes is, well, I won't enforce this law, and when the Swiss people learn of this, and when my superiors learn of this, everyone will forgive me because they'll understand that I was doing the Swiss thing, in a sense. So you can call it naivete, you can call it idealism, a kind of wide-eyed belief in these traditions. Of course, one Swiss journalist I met who investigated Gruninger's case said, of course this is a myth that we have this open, that we were always this safe haven, but Gruninger really believed it. And because he believed it, he acted on it. Of course, he then realized when he was caught that the authorities and the people would not forgive him. He was fired, he was disgraced, he lived the rest of his days in penury, he could not find a job. So that idealism came crashing up against the reality, unfortunately in his case and many of the others I tell.
Ultimately, after he was dead, he became a Swiss hero. Didn't do him any good.
That's right. He became a Swiss hero in 1993 when he was finally officially rehabilitated. And as I tell the story in the book of just how long that took, the first public plea that I describe to rehabilitate this man came in 1968. Gruninger was still alive at that time. Now he had sort of lived out these difficult years, but if he had been exonerated or officially recognized then he would have maybe lived out his last days with this status. Not so. The Swiss authorities denied this effort to rehabilitate him. 5 separate efforts to rehabilitate him were all brushed aside. And as I investigated this, I thought, well, why is this? Why in the 80s, by which time most people in Switzerland look back at this law with shame? There's no question in most people's minds that barring refugees from fleeing Nazi Germany was wrong by the 80s. So why reject this effort to rehabilitate this guy? And then it became very clear when I sort of dug in a little deeper, if you recognize Gruninger, if you say, well, here was this guy and he did the right thing, what does it say about everybody else? What does it say about Swiss neutrality, about the record of our country during this war, during this period when there were moral choices to be made? And unfortunately, that's the story in most of the chapters I tell, is that the people who stand by their principles serve as very uncomfortable reminders to everyone else of what could have been done. And that makes it very hard for them to get the recognition they deserve.
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, the leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.